This
And now,
conference will now be recorded.
well, thanks everyone for making some time this lunchtime to hear about Viasat Business and their satellite internet services. Happy to have Dinah Mead, who's from the Western region of the Viasat team, dedicated to the channel. And I know she's got a really nice presentation here for us today, including a really neat demo that we're going to be having at the end of the uh, presentation, which will actually show somebody actually making a VoIP call over the Viasat satellite internet services. So that's pretty cool, and they even do a FaceTime call as well. So we certainly got that to look forward to. But with no further ado, let me hand over to Dinah. Dinah, thanks.
Hi there, everyone. Thank you so much for your time today. My name is Dina Mead, and I sit in Denver, Colorado, but I help everybody from Chicago over to California. So I am the Western Region lead for Viasat. We are, at this moment, hiring people. So if you know anyone, let me know. But we have had a really good stint from the channel perspective. Starting around September of 2017, we decided to go really hard into the channel, and we finally had our business product, and we'll talk a little bit about that and what Viasat's all about, but we finally had our business product ready, and we decided to, go out in the channel and start working with all you all. We do not sell direct, so we sell solely through the channel, so we are, very, very thankful for all the work that you guys do for us. So with that, here's the agenda. I'm going to move this over to my screen here. So here's the agenda, high level. Who's Viasat? What's our market and opportunity with our product? What are our product offerings and who are our target customers? Frequently asked questions, and satellite mythbusters, and then, as Sam mentioned, the VoIP and FaceTime call demo at the end. So if you guys have any questions, I'm going to be obviously presenting, but if you have any questions, feel free to ask while I'm going through the presentation. So next slide here, if I can get to the, yep, who's Viasat? All right, so we are a San Diego-based company. We're out of San Diego. We've been around for about 30 years, and our founders are still part of our company, so it's really cool. We started in a garage, just like a lot of the other startups out there, and we basically started in as a government contractor. We do a lot of government and military work, so probably about 60% of our business is from government contract. We do have a residential side of the house with about 600,000 subscribers. We do also have an airline business or Wi-Fi in the airlines. So probably about 30 to 40% of the time when you get on a plane, you'll be using, if you use Wi-Fi on the plane, you'll be using Viasat Wi-Fi. It could be white labeled. United white labels us, but others call us a Wi-Fi, V-I-F-I. So Wi-Fi. So that is, you'll see us on the plane. And then, like I said, back in September of 2017, and, obviously before then, but we hired a team. Eric Stark, who's the national director, hired a team. There was only two of us, or three of us, I guess, at the time, and I'm the person on the west. I have another person on the east, and then we have a director of sales engineering that's part of our team as well. And like I said, we are rapidly hiring more people now that we have established ourselves with a lot of the masters and in the channel. All right, so I'll go to the next slide here. This is more of our coverage and where we're at. So as you can see, back in 2011, we had Viasat 1 was launched. At 2018, we finally got Viasat 2 operational. And then by 2020, probably our service will be operational by 2021. We are going to be launching a a constellation of satellites, 3 satellites that will cover the world, and it's going to give us more bandwidth and more coverage than we've ever had in the past. With and it's more than any other satellite out there. So it'll be really great for Viasat.
Dina, can I just
Yes.
ask who you use to actually launch your satellite? Are you using?
Depends. It depends who it is. We use several. Yeah. So it just depends on the contract.
Okay.
At the time, yeah.
I know Eric said he went down for the launch of the
Yes, he did.
and it was pretty awesome.
Yes, it was. Yes, and there are some YouTube videos on that as well. If you guys ever have a chance to go look, it was pretty awesome when our Viasat 2 was launched back in June of 2017. So, all right. So here we go to the next slide here. So the business internet market and opportunity. So why Viasat for Business? So if you guys don't know, we are basically internet satellite. We get our internet connection from a satellite that's 22,233 miles up in the sky. Those beams project onto the Earth, and we have what we call outdoor units, but you can also just call them dishes. But basically, it's an outdoor unit that sits on the outside of your building or your establishment, and then we run a cable into your telephone closet or your computer closet, and we deliver a modem. The modem is delivered, and then the customer brings their own router. And then that's when internet can be established. It's an Ethernet handoff, and you plug in your router or your firewall, whatever that is, and then you can get, obviously, internet directly into a computer, or you can set up something so that you have Wi-Fi in your establishment. But bottom line is we're nationwide broadband now with our speeds and feeds. We are used for primary and redundancy service options. Lots of people out there say, oh my goodness, you guys are just used for a backup solution, or you're only used in the rural areas. It's absolutely not true. There are areas in downtown Chicago that can't get anything else but DSL or T1, or maybe there's cable fallout. Maybe there's, problems with construction into that building, and it's too expensive. It's a very expensive build. We are absolutely a contender for primary service. We install service. This is one of the big deals for the channel, and I think it fits really well. We install service within 3 to 5 business days, and sometimes it's even 1.5 to 2 business days. So it's incredible. That is one of the biggest strong suits of our product, and we can get service up and running really fast. We do have a 24-month term. However, it's only $15 a month times the months remaining in the contract to cancel the service. And so lots of times, that's really nothing when it comes down to, even if it's if there's a cable fallout, you're waiting for cable to get in there, you're waiting for your fiber solution, it's 6 months later, and then you have to pay 18 months of that $15 times 18 months. People are willing to pay that, so it's really not a big issue there. And then, of course, we can provide service for all kinds of applications out there, point of sale, high-speed file transfer, even VoIP. You're going to see a VoIP call at the end of this video. So we'll go from there. So as far as the market opportunity, you'd say, well, wow, who would ever, where are people needing, internet? And, there are 27.9 million small businesses out there at this point. And with nationwide coverage, every business is an opportunity at this point. And if you could see here with this map, obviously the dark purple is 100% without broadband, but then, it kind of gets down to this lilac color here. But even if you can see here in, California, Arizona, there's all different pockets out there where there's no broadband. There's no, fiber in the ground. There's no broadband service. And so we are absolutely a great opportunity or a great option for those kind of customers out in those areas. All right. Any questions?
I did see one message pop up. I think it was from Jason around, do you provide static IPs?
I'm going to get to that. We don't have static IPs, but I will get to that at the in a little bit. We have what we call persistent IPs, and I will tell you what those are in just a second, if that's okay.
Cool.
All right. So wherever you do, and I'm not watching that, Sam, just because I had to close that out. I'm sorry. Oops, here, let me move this out. I had to close that part out because I can't see my screen then. I'm sorry. I couldn't see the text.
No problem.
All right. So like I said, wherever you do business, we got you covered. I mean, disaster recovery, of course, fiber construction delays. SD-WAN, we're a great secondary option for SD-WAN. Obviously, email and web research, but point of sale. We have tons of retail customers and tons of restaurants out there, car washes that use us and use us for their point of sale. Streaming video, and now, with all the IoT options out there, we do have several IoT connectivity options that are in the works and that we're actually working with right now. So lots of good stuff for application use. All right, let me get to the next one here. All plans include a priority connection. So as I had told you before, we do have our military side of the house, we have a residential, we have aviation, and then we have business. As you can tell, or as you probably assume, the military is going to have our first priority. And then the aviation has I guess you could say close to second priority, but it's a little different the way they actually use our capacity, just because it's up in the clouds, I guess, and it's provisioned a little differently. But as you can, there's only a certain amount of capacity, and you see, oh my goodness, there's 600,000 residential subscribers. Those residential subscribers are actually last priority on our network, and our business is basically in line with the airline, the aviation. So right after military and contract, basically we have top priority on our network. So the business customer will absolutely experience, great service from a connection perspective. We do have, here's the question about persistent IP addresses. We do not have static, but the difference that we say is we do have persistent IPs. You get 3 persistent IPs, and they're actually free. We do not charge for them. The difference between persistent and static in just a very high level is that with a static IP, you get the IP address prior to the installation. With persistent IP, you have to wait until we actually install the service. And like I said, it's only a 3 to 5 day wait. And then at that point, you call into our care department and they give you the IP address, the 3 IP addresses. So they don't change. Once they're established, they don't change. And they work exactly like a static IP. The equipment is included in the plan cost, so there's no additional charges for the equipment. Like I said, fast installations, 3 to 5 day install. And then we have business class support. We do have a U.S.-based team out of College Station, Texas, that's able to support service, any kind of business calls, and it's basically from 7 a.m. Central to 1 a.m. Central. They do close a little bit overnight, but we find that there's not, many calls coming in at that point anyway. So we do have that going 7 days a week.
Quick question got thrown up.
Go ahead.
Are these public IP addresses? I presume they are, right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Great. Also, I just want to, you touched a bit on the priority connection and talking about military and then airlines and so on and so forth. I just, and then you also talked about all the residential customers and so on and so forth. I just want to make sure everyone understands that, this is an internet service. This is not you're not competing with somebody who's got Dish Network, TV or anything like this. This is
absolutely
not conflicting with that large number of internet service providers for residential is internet service, right?
Exactly.
So
exactly.
Again, I want to make sure everyone understands that that's what we're talking about here. It's a pure internet play.
Pure internet play, exactly. Yes. Okay, good. All right, so here are our business product offerings and target market. So we came out we knew that when we came into the channel, we had to be obviously priced and competitive, and try to figure out what the customers really wanted, and tried to base our plans around those from a usage perspective as well as from a pricing perspective. So we have two types of plans. We have our unlimited business broadband plans, and then we have our metered plans. And when we talk about unlimited, there's obviously always fine, let me go back, sorry about that. There's always fine print. So our unlimited is not completely unlimited. However, it's not complicated. I just have to explain it a little bit. We do have the most famous plan that I sell every single day is this $175 plan. It's basically our unlimited data 35 by 4 plan. So you get speeds of 35 down and 4 up. And this plan here is available in about 99% of the U.S., 50 states, right? There's a couple of pockets and stuff that don't have this plan available, and there's a 12 by 3 plan, and I'll talk about that in just a minute. There's a lower end plan, but for the most part, this 35 by 4 blankets the entire country. In pockets, NFL cities, the 60 plan and the 100 plan is available. But for the most part, like I said, everybody thinks this 175 plan is great. There is a threshold to this plan as well as these other two plans here, and it's in the fine print at the bottom here. For this plan, 175 plan, there's a threshold of 75 gigs. For the $300 plan, there's a threshold of 150 gigs, and for the $500 a month plan, there's a threshold of 200 gigs. And what that means is that if your customer hits, for this 175 plan, if your customer gets the 75 gig threshold in a month, there will be slowdown on their service if the network is congested. So let me talk about that a little bit. Our network, our peak hours of our network are from the hours of 7 p.m. and 11 p.m. at night. That's when our residential customers, the 600,000 subscribers that I was talking about, come home and use our network. During the day, our network is open, right, from the business hours, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. for the most part. It's open. And that is why Viasat said, hey, we have this open satellite during the day. Why don't we go and offer a business plan? And it took them a while to figure it out. And finally, September 2017, they're like, okay, we got the business plan going. But because of our satellite, basically it's usage. Because we do not have many people using our businesses, I guess, we don't have anything. Before, we didn't have anybody using our network between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. Business is a great option. So during the day, you most likely will not experience any type of network congestion. So if your customer goes over 75 gigs on this plan, probably will be fine. We did a lot of market research out there, and we went out and figured out, how many gigs do customers actually use. And the average small business customer that uses our network, that would use a 35 by 4 plan like this, uses about 50 gigs a month, and that's if they're just doing business applications. Of course, once they start streaming or they allow their employees to use the network, and just different kinds of other kinds of applications, not business applications, obviously that 50 gigs will go up. But that's where we came up with this 75 gig threshold. Does that make sense? Any questions around that?
No, I think that's awesome. And I see here the install's being reduced to $100, huh?
It is. We have a promotion going on now. Usually it's $300, but right now we have a $100 install fee. So it's really, really cool. All right. So these are the unlimited plans. Let me go to the next slide here. How come I can't get there? Okay. These are our metered plans. And you'd say, well, why would anybody want to do metered instead of unlimited? And so basically, our metered plans, we give you a certain amount of data. We charge you a certain amount. However, if you go over that, let's just say, for instance, it's 20 gigs of data, and you go to 21 or 22, you'll pay the $100 per month, plus then you'll pay the $6 per gig as needed for additional usage. We never slow you down, nothing like that. So you won't have to worry like you had potentially on those unlimited data plans. You won't have to worry about ever getting to a threshold because we don't have it. We'll just charge you. However, you have to be careful, because even though we do send out notices to the customer that says, hey, you're at your usage, or, you're hitting your threshold, customers will use the service and they might be overcharged. So it just depends on your customer and what they're interested in. If they want to have just a flat plan and they know what they're going to pay every month, they do the unlimited data plans. If not, they do the metered plans. We find that a lot of people like to have our 1 gig or 10 gig options here for backup. I mean, it's almost a necessity now that everybody has 2 connections into their building. You have your fiber connection, you have your main connection, but then you always have a backup because nobody can be without internet. It's almost like it's electricity. So people use this all the time for that backup. And of course, we do have our $100 installation with this as well.
Dina, there was a couple of questions. Firstly, is there any rollover of unused? No,
we don't have that at this time.
Okay. And then the other thing was, could you just give us some clarifications on those peak hours? Because obviously you've got Eastern Standard Time versus Pacific Standard Time and so on and so forth. So what are those?
Oh, it's in the, okay. Oh, as far as the busy time?
Yeah.
Okay. The way it works, and it's in the time zone. It's in the time zone. So, when in New York at 7 p.m., I mean, and also the beams that the person in New York is using, the beam that New York is serviced by is different than the beam that California is serviced by.
I'm with you. Okay. So it's
in the time zone. Sorry about not saying that for clarification purposes.
That's cool. Excellent.
Okay. There, like I said, 99% of our coverage can be covered, or usage, plans can be covered by that 35x4 plan. There are areas in the Rocky Mountains, southern Utah, northern Arizona, kind of Four Corners area, little patches here and there that, for whatever reason, the beams don't give the 35x4 speeds, the higher speeds. And so what we do instead is we have this other plan here, which is our 12x3 plan. And it still gives you the unlimited option or metered option. However, it only has speeds of up to 12 down and 3 up. And you can see here, the first question people say is, well, why is it $250 a month versus the $175 and you're getting more speeds? It's because it's harder for us to provision that beam. And so that's the option there. But, there are people that use this because there is no other option for them, not even DSL or T1. There might just be dial-up, and some areas, sometimes there's nothing else. And so we do sell this a lot as well. Any other questions on this one? All right.
I would have one question.
Just
in conjunction with, it almost rolls it nicely into the next slide, actually, and that's with respect to like farms and so on and so forth, right? I mean, these remote farms, etc., would tend to be like the perfect target, right?
Yeah.
Is there a way that we're able to actually confirm existing clients with you, or we just give you an address and you'll just confirm if they're an existing client?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So that's the way it works, is that I would have you all, if you're interested, send me the address and the location, the zip code, and then I go in and look to check what speeds and feeds are available. As far as existing clients are concerned, we have an NDA with pretty much each one of you by signing our larger agreement with the master. So we're not allowed to talk about any other customers.
Sure.
Just because, and so we can't really share clients' names. But if you go and talk to them directly and ask them, or anything like that, that's a different story. But for us, we cannot really be part of that.
Sure.
Okay. All right, so next slide here. So our target customers. So we don't really like to say that we have target customers, but we know that you all like to hear, kind of where's our specialty. We just say anyone that doesn't have internet, could be our customer, right? Because that's basically what it is, or anybody in the need of an internet, service could be our customer. But, we have done very well with these type of applications. So from a retail perspective, even though these retail establishments have a connection into, could potentially get a fiber connection through a cable company or through a telco, they prefer sometimes just to use us because it's easy for them to just have us, get on the roof, get the service in, and, they use us for point of sale, and they, provision us to have, some point of sale on there, and then also let their customers have customer Wi-Fi. Some of our retail establishments actually have 2 dishes from us, and one is just solely provisioned for the, business applications, and then the other one they use for their customer Wi-Fi. Restaurants and cafes is the same idea. There's a lot of them that don't want to deal with, they're in a parking lot, something like that. I mean, even though there are a lot of promotions that the cable companies and others use for a build purpose, right? They give you some money for build. Lots of times, the cost is still overwhelming, and so they use us instead. Farms, we have lots of I would say at least 25, I could say that for a fact. Pig farms, cow farms, they use us, and it's a very, very good application out there just because, it's hard for others to get out there. And then, of course, construction and contractors, we have those, people come and go. These contractors use this potentially from 6 to 8 months, and then they cancel service, and then they go to the next site. We have several of those that are going on. So, yeah, I mean, it really makes sense for our service and these type of applications, and the customers are pretty happy with us. So, any questions?
We got does the service work with RV and mobile offices? Is there
it's a stable service, guys. At this point, we don't move. I wish we did, but we don't. So it would be from an RV perspective. You're probably thinking it's like a cellular service where it works everywhere. Our outdoor unit has a TRIA. It's a little device at the end of the actual dish. And that has to be lockstep with our satellite. And once we provision that, and once we get that, once the install technician actually gets that line of sight perfect with the satellite, it cannot move.
So what do you do in regards to construction and contractors? A lot of times they have temporary setups for maybe months at a time before project's over. Are they able to move that to the next job site with obviously you're coordinating with you?
Well, no, they have to order a new service and then they'd pay the early termination term. But I've never had in my experience, I've never had a contractor that is there only for a month. They're usually there at least 3 or 4 months. And then they just pay the early termination. But I mean, if you had a special situation where they're there for a month, I don't know, maybe we could work something out. But I mean, for the most part, that $15 a month times a month's remaining is just helping us to pay for that equipment as well. It just helps. It just helps with the costs because it's basically, it's not we're making any money on that. We're just recouping some of the costs. All right. Any other questions on this? Okay.
I just thought.
All right. So here,
before we actually move on to the FAQs, etc. Angela, do you want to just share a couple of examples of where we've already got clients already using Viasat, Exceed Viasat? I know you've had a couple of clients already installed this, right?
Yeah, I had a recycling company that was, they didn't have, what they wanted from a wireline availability. So they leveraged Viasat. They also have hosted voice seats on there, and we haven't had any complaints from our partner in regards to that. And they were very happy with the installation time frame and the ease of install. And the same thing with the other opportunities where they were like in an area where they couldn't get the wireline speeds that they'd wanted, and they haven't had any complaints about that as well. And that was a staffing company. So
Yeah, we've also got like a couple of clients, like some very rich people have like a large plot of land right on Lake Geneva, and they couldn't get any connectivity up there, and we've basically had Viasat put in there for those guys. And obviously come the summer when they're using the house a lot, etc., they're really taking advantage of the internet service that previously they just couldn't get, and the cell phone coverage up there was horrendous, so they couldn't get wireless connectivity, let alone wireline. So that's another example.
and another example I had was actually downtown Chicago was a restaurant. They had Comcast as a primary, and they were looking for a good redundant connection for their automatic failover, and the DSL speeds were just not what they wanted. And we were able to get Viasat in there, and then we haven't had any complaints from them either.
Perfect. I love that. Good.
So moving on.
All right. Great. Thanks, guys. Okay, frequently asked questions and myths. All right, so one of the things that people are going to ask you about, or if they're any type of tech savvy at all, is they're going to talk about the latency. Satellite is 22,223 miles up in the sky, and just due to the nature of the service and proximity of where we're at, we're going to have 640 milliseconds of latency. That sounds like horrifying to someone who maybe have a Verizon circuit that's 2 milliseconds, less than 2 milliseconds of latency. However, our service works. It's half a second. It's very you can't even detect really the delay when you're doing any type of web service, any type of most business applications. And in a little bit you'll see a VoIP call. It works, and but just the fact that it's 640 milliseconds of latency, people will just there's no way that any type of service will ever work, and it absolutely does. Persistent IP versus. Go ahead.
I think you're actually you're kind of injecting latency both ways to make the phone conversations sound normal, so there isn't like this big delay. So I think that's some clever stuff that you're actually doing within your network to identify that sort of traffic, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we do that, but people still, when they say, okay, how could it ever work? I mean, the true fact is that it is 640 milliseconds latency, so that's why I just need to bring that up because people are going to definitely ask about that. But yeah, we do a lot of things in our network to, obviously enhance the service. Okay, next thing, persistent IP versus static IP. We talked about those a little bit before. And like I said, the difference is that with a persistent IP, you do not receive those IP addresses until after the service is established. The great thing, though, about this is, and I said this before, you get 3, and they are absolutely free. Other companies all over the place, they'll charge you for your static IPs, and it's anywhere between, $10, $20 a month. So, but ours are free, and you get 3. People are going to ask about VPN. Does VPN work? Okay. The main thing here is that you just have to understand that when you get into the VPN tunnel, the speeds are going to go down. So instead of the 35 by 4 that you have, the speed will probably go down to about a 5 by 1 when you're in the VPN tunnel. However, for a lot of businesses out there, that is okay and satisfactory as long as the service is working, because it's better than the DSL or T1 connection they had in the past, or, it works for them. SSL-based VPNs perform better than IPsec. So if you have the option to do any type of SSL instead of IPsec, that would be great. However, we have lots of things that we're trying to do with our VPN to enhance VPN service, and it's all in the works right now. More stuff will be coming out shortly on this, but if you have a VPN customer, I'd just like to talk to you about it. And we also do trials if necessary with VPN. If there's customers that have multi-location opportunities, anything like that, and they're just scared about VPN, I mean, we like to say, we don't ever like to turn anybody away, so we'll talk to them about, hey, why don't we try it? Let's see if it works. And, lots of times they're happy. And then from a service level agreement, people are always going to ask, hey, what kind of SLA do you guys have? We don't have an SLA. However, we continue to work to 99.9% network availability, including gateway weather. So we do have that. And the fact that we do work with our military and that the airlines out there are willing to, use us in their big jets with all these customers that they have daily, hopefully talks a little bit about our service. But we do not have a service level agreement at this time. All right, any questions there? Let me go to the next slide and maybe we'll answer a little bit more. So again, we aren't just relevant in the rural areas. We have tons of, like you said, there's an opportunity in Chicago where, you have a restaurant using us, so that's great. We're not only used as a backup connection, we're actually used as primary as well. People always ask about weather, right? Is it going to work? Is it not going to work when it rains or snows? So we proactively monitor our network to make sure that in severe network conditions, we don't just have a huge outage. And what we do is we have the network operations center is watching the weather all day long, and when there's pockets of bad weather, they actually do stuff with the beams to make them smaller. The speeds will slow down a little bit. However, the service will not go down. And so, we just do a ton of stuff to monitor to make sure that, it's not just some kind of flimsy, service. And again, when we decided to go out in the channel, we know that, we have to be a solid product because everyone talks, right? And if we were a terrible service that would go down with any type of rain or, a small snowstorm, obviously that wouldn't be good. Obviously, if there's an earthquake or tornado or hurricane or something huge like that, guys, I mean, I think any type of service is going to go down. But, for the most part, for just typical rain and snow, we should be fine. And then it can't support VoIP applications. It does. It absolutely does support VoIP applications, and I'll have a little demo here with a video on the next slide. So any questions here before I go there?
Can you just talk about security in general? I mean, I suppose like one of the joys of the actual thing is it would be pretty difficult to actually jump into a satellite beam and draw down data, right? So even though people are leveraging VPN and stuff like that, as far as like connectivity out to like cloud-based applications and so on and so forth, whether that's G Suite or Office 365 or whether it's Salesforce and so on and so forth. As far as like connecting to those, I presume how that service actually gets connected from you guys to those cloud services. I would assume you've got like massive amounts of security protocols in place to secure that sort of traffic, right?
We do, and if I can actually send you some, a decent paper on security, that would be better. I'm not the technical person here, so I really can't explain it, but I'm telling you that because we are a air connection versus a LAN connection, and we actually, the way our network is configured, yes, we're absolutely secure. And we have to, even though obviously our customers are using these beams, but the way we provision with our military and our government, which has to be extremely secure, is the way we basically provision with the rest of our network. So it's pretty cool. I just don't have enough detail, guys. I'm sorry, but I can actually get some information. I can send it out to you guys.
Sure, perfect.
All right. Okay. So next slide here. Here is the VoIP and FaceTime call demo, and it's about 1 minute and 12 seconds, and I'm going to hold, hopefully you guys can hear it, and I'm going to press on this now. So hold on just a sec.
We're going to go make a VoIP call right now. Let's do it. I'd love to see it. Right over here. Eric, how are you doing? I'm good. How does this sound? It sounds amazing, man. It does. So, is this good enough for customers? Oh, absolutely. I don't think this is anything like what most people would expect it to sound like. Very, very clean. VoIP does work over satellite, but there's nothing better than showing it happen in real life. You know, there's nothing I want to do. I want to do a FaceTime call with you. FaceTime? You've got to make sure, are you connected to our network? Yeah, just 1 second. You're connected to our Wi-Fi? Okay, I'm on your Wi-Fi that's running over satellite. Okay, great. So I'm going to FaceTime you right now. Let's see how this goes. Connecting now. Are you there? Eric, how are you? Looking great. There it is. So here's a FaceTime connection, a video connection. How does this work? How does this sound? Oh man, it sounds amazing. The fidelity is very, very high. The clarity is great. I mean, it looks awesome. To have a FaceTime experience like that over satellite was amazing. Never would have expected that.
All right, guys. So
one thing I would just point out there, like that echoing, I think that was more because he still had his other.
Sorry about that. Hold on just a minute. Let me try to get this off. How do I do this? End show. Sorry about that, guys.
No, you gotta
There you go. Okay. Yes, you're right. Go ahead. Keep going, Sam. Tell them why that double sound was. Go ahead.
That echoing was because he still had his other phone call going on in the background, so you were actually.
And they did that because they wanted to show that he wanted to show him on the call as well as Patrick talking as well, right? So they didn't want to like block that out so you could hear that echo. And it wasn't an echo, it's actually because there's two calls going on. It's what Patrick hears and then what Eric heard on his phone. And that's how it is. There's always a delay, even if you are on a cellular call and you're sitting there talking to your, on a call, talking to the person that's in the passenger seat when you're driving, you're going to hear that delay. You're going to hear them before they can hear you on the phone.
Right. Yeah. All right.
All right.
So you want to just go to the go put that slide back up?
Sure, no problem. Let me see here. How do I do that? All right. I think that's it. I don't think there's anything else. Oh, there you go. Any type of follow-up questions?
Yeah. Yeah, if anyone's got any questions, don't hesitate to throw them out right now. You can either throw them in chat or I don't think we've got anybody muted, so or maybe I do. Let me unmute everybody. If anyone's got any questions, otherwise, I just like to thank everyone for taking time this lunchtime. Dina, really nice job running through those slides and that demo. Again, the best thing about these satellite services, guys, is not only do they work, but also they get installed in 3 days, and obviously the sooner they get installed, the sooner your customers are up and happy, obviously, and the sooner they get billed, and the sooner our commissions rolls through. So again, a great service, very responsive team, And if you have a customer that's struggling with their internet or only has one internet connection today and wants an inexpensive secondary connection where maybe a coax or a DSL service is hard to come by, this is a phenomenal solution. So thanks again, everyone. A little reminder, we do have our US Open partner event going on next month. You'll be receiving a couple of reminders via email in the next few days, or certainly next week. And we hope as many of you can make it as possible. Thanks for everyone's time. Dina, thanks again.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Dina.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Have a great day.